Hello. I'm starting to come out of my post Oklahoma stupor, so I thought I'd do my little weekly check in for my big spenders. Hope you're all doing well. And to those of you in Missouri and Illinois, it's gonna cool off tomorrow. We can go outside and not possibly die from heat. I'm really looking forward to it because I have not left my house since I got home from Oklahoma on Monday because I had enough of that in Oklahoma. Speaking of, I haven't written much about my trip yet. I haven't written anything about it other than I posted and I hope you've listened to it. A podcast episode with my poet friend Paul in Oklahoma City, who takes incredible solo trips in silence with no music uh, through the Western National Parks and scenic drives. That went up yesterday, and like I said, I hope you take a listen because he's a super interesting person. Uh, I loved hearing what he had to say, um, and yeah, uh, give Paul a listen if you haven't yet. You're gonna hear me more than you hear Paul because I'm louder than every human being in the world, apparently. And two, I need to just start putting my computer directly in front of my podcast guests. So I'm figuring it out as I go, so to speak. Okay, whole bunch of stuff went on. Really awesome stuff went on while I was in Oklahoma. It was a truly um, soul bolstering trip. I got to see people that I don't get to see very often, and I got to do stuff I'd never done before, and I saw an incredible show. And this will all be written. I'm gonna start writing it like as soon as I finish this. Um, so I don't want to. I don't care if I give anything away. But yeah, on Sunday, I hopped over from Tulsa to Oklahoma City to spend the afternoon hanging out with Paul. And we recorded our episode, spent some time drinking coffee and talking, which we hadn't done one on one before. And it was really cool. It was a good way to spend the day. And because I have spent so much time in Oklahoma, but no time in Oklahoma City, other than 2 weeks ago with my trip that basically left me only seeing a hotel and a gas station in Oklahoma City. Um, I thought with having an afternoon there, I had to do one thing, and that was go to the Oklahoma City Memorial for the Edward R. Murrow. Was that no? That's the journalist. Anyway, from the bombing 30 years ago. Oh my God. Um, I have never had that kind of reaction to any place I've ever visited. And I've been to places. I've been to hallowed sacred ground, but yeah. I'm trying to wrap my head around how to write about my very brief experience at the memorial. And I'm sorry, my dog is eating in the background. So if you hear slurping and crunching while I talk about this very somber subject, I apologize. Um, Man, all I can say is if you find yourself near Oklahoma City, by all means, pay a visit. Go pay your respects. Uh, this year is the 30th anniversary. It passed in April, and I cannot believe it's been 30 years. And I'm going to cry talking about it. It was the most emotional I've ever been at a place I've visited. Um, I could feel just the spirits of, I mean, almost 200 people died right there, and so many little kids, babies in the daycare center. And it really brought back that, wow, we already started to forget this part of our history because, I mean, I was in college when that happened, and I remember it very clearly. And I'll write about this, but I just wanted to, I don't know, verbally say it, that even if you're like me and could only handle going in and standing in that space uh, for a few minutes, I think I was there about 10 minutes or so, and I sobbed the entire time. Um, do it. Go to the hard places. Um, when my last couple of New York trips, I haven't done the 9/11 memorial site. I've been close to it. I was close to it when they were building it a long time ago. And I always thought, yeah, I don't know. It seems kind of like it would be cold and sterile to me. And having gone to Oklahoma City, I can say without a doubt that no, it probably isn't. Um, but yeah, these are things we need to include in our travels, and um, and it's how we remember our history, and it's how we keep from repeating horrific things that have happened and that people have done in the name of ugh, whatever. Um, especially right now, because I kept having this thought while I was there that with the trajectory of where things are going in this country, it, this could happen again soon. And I don't want to see that. None of us do. And most of and the ones who do want to see that, fuck them. Seriously, fuck them. I'm still sorting out my feelings. They're big and plentiful. But I'm going to move on. Um, I'm going to move on to totally goofy ass stuff. Which, speaking of, my dog is now under my chair. We play this game and that she's wanting to play right now. And she's 14 years old, so who am I to deny her? Oh, she's leaving. Good. You don't have to witness the pet your noggin, pet your body, pet your booty game. Thank God. Okay. Um. Oh, so during this trip, I got to do some comparison shopping. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Buc-ee's, the behemoth truck. Well, they're not even truck stops. They don't allow 18 wheelers. But the behemoth travel center chain out of Texas. Um, Missouri got one, I believe it was a year or 2 years ago. It's located in Springfield. I stopped at it once last year, and I try not to go there because one, they're huge and crowded, and I don't like that. And two, they're owned by a Trump supporter, and far be it for me to line his pockets, but I also figure I don't shop at Amazon. I gave up Target. That was a big, big move. Um, I vote with my dollars. Plentiful, plenty. I mean, yeah, I, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, so I'm gonna go to Buc-ee's on the occasion that I pass through Springfield and need to pee and need to fill up my gas tank and need some fresh, hot, handmade potato chips, which is all the time. So, stopped at Buc-ee's and on the way home. But on the way out to Oklahoma, I stopped outside of St. Louis at Wally's, which there's only two locations, and it's a slightly smaller behemoth travel center that they're trying to make happen. And I got to compare Wally's versus Buc-ee's. And I don't know who owns Wally's, and I don't know their politics. I'm hoping they're not as horrific, but I don't know. they're going to have to catch up because Bucky's has it down pat. Wally's is lacking a little bit. And I think I'm pretty much saying this based on the fact that Bucky's has a cold brew bar, whereas Wally's has no iced coffee. Um, Bucky's not only has barbecue, but they have fancy people call it charcuterie, but the rest of us are like, yeah, give me that jalapeno cheddar summer sausage. Already pre-sliced, so I can just put it in my bag and eat it directly. Um, love that shit. Wally's does not have that. And just the insane snack selection. I've already buzzed through all my Bucky's snacks, and CJ had requested salty snacks, so we need to confab and compare my sweet snacks versus their salty snacks and see how they compare out. But anyways, don't have any more Oklahoma trips planned, which is perfect because going to Oklahoma, I got to drive past a Wally's and a Bucky's. I compare and contrast, so I might have to do that though. Um, okay, if you look, just changing subjects really quickly. If um, if you've listened to the podcast with Paul, you know that at one point he mentioned being at the Albuquerque Zoo and having a realization that led to him changing how he travels. And I went, oh, I've been to the Albuquerque Zoo. And I stopped myself. I was like, I'm not going to tell the story in the middle of the podcast. Like, but I promised a long time ago, like, in the whole 2 months that I've been doing this, that I would tell this story. When I made the Father's Day post, my mom mentioned, you didn't mention anything about our New Mexico trip from when you were a kid. It's like, well, yeah, because the best story from that trip was a mom's story, not a dad's story. And it would totally usurp the holiday. So Paul bringing up the Albuquerque Zoo brought up this story, which I told him after we finished recording, and he quite enjoyed it. So I'm going to tell you the Albuquerque Zoo story. I was 14, I think. So late 1980s, summer of 1887, children. Now, it was the summer of 1987. My hair was just as big as it is today, but in a different way. And we were road tripping to New Mexico, my parents and my friend Susan and me. And Susan came from a very well-mannered family, mine less so. So it was an experience for Susan, I have no doubt. But we were of the age where the various ways the body can emit gases was endlessly entertaining. This does not just apply to 14-year-old boys, if you were under that misconception. Plenty of us were 14-year-old girls who were belching and farting and taking great pride in volume and obnoxiousness, and yeah, and I was one of them. And it was so bad that being trapped in a vehicle with two of us, my mom decided to make it like a swear jar. It's like, okay, from now on, either of you burp, it's a quarter. Anyone farts, it's 50 cents. So we've got that hanging over our heads. Speaking of hanging over your heads, so we're at the Albuquerque Zoo. My mom is standing under a giant tree, and all of a sudden, something very liquidy hits her on the head. It starts dripping down her face, down to her shoulder. And I look up, and there is, I don't know what kind of bird. I've always said it's a condor because it was huge. And it is just shat all over my mother's head. And there's some guy that we don't know standing there trying to convince her that it's just sap. And that was not sap. And she is losing her mind, and kind of rightfully so. So she goes to the restroom. Susan and I go to the restroom too, not to help, but because we have to go to the bathroom. We each go to a stall. take care of our business, come out, and we're on the other side of the bathroom from where my mother is cleaning up at the sink, trying to save her hair for the day. Another woman goes into the stalls and just lets rip as you are allowed to do in a public restroom. My mother, not realizing that Susan and I had come out of the stall and assuming it was one of us, announces, "That'll be 50 cents." To which Susan and I looked at each other and very silently got the hell out of that bathroom. So when my mom comes out and sees us there, and having seen this other lady in the bathroom, puts together she did not request 50 cents for a world shattering fart from her child, but from a total stranger while cleaning condor shit out of her hair. So don't travel with children, I think is the message of that story. Uh, yeah. So I got to have before having the emotional darkness breakdown of going to the Oklahoma City Memorial, I got to have that bit of joy of sharing that story with my friend Paul. And speaking of Paul, I don't know if you all have noticed or not, but in addition to offering subscriptions, I am using a service called Buy Me a Coffee, and I'm putting a link to it at the end of each post, and I'll throw one on this one too, even though you've all paid to be here. Um, but what Buy Me a Coffee is, it's a way that people who don't necessarily want to subscribe or who've already subscribed and want to offer more support can offer one-time financial support for what I'm doing here. Um, Anyone who makes a contribution through Buy Me a Coffee and mentions Paul uh, will have the pleasure of knowing that that money is going directly to Paul. He's an assistant professor at a university or at a college in Oklahoma, which, if you've been watching the news, especially, you know, things are kind of dire on the financial end of the education world in Oklahoma and in many other ways. And he's also a writer and has a mostly unemployed writer at this point. I get it. It's hard. Um, so I just wanted to offer that little bit of appreciation towards Paul, and he's been a huge help in making me see the value of my writing, especially my poetry. Um, he's made me stop calling myself a hack and to accept that I can call myself a poet, and that's a big deal. And I would love to help pay him back. I have no money. I bought him a coffee the other day. So, if you listened to the podcast with Paul and got anything out of it, and I'm sure you will, um, just hit that Buy Me a Coffee link. And there's a spit. You can pick whatever amount you want. It doesn't have to be. It starts at like suggested 10. You don't have to back it up as much. I don't care. Um, but there's a place where you can leave a note. Just mention Paul, and I will make sure that money gets to him. And I'll leave it at that. Stay safe in the heat and in a world where people drive fertilizer trucks into buildings at daycare centers. Yeah. And yeah, go to a giant travel center and get your favorite snack and your favorite soda and take care of you. Talk to y'all later. I'm gonna go write. Bye.